we can all agree that we want to believe that God provides for our needs. But sometimes our experiences make us doubt what we know to be true. Many people have been dealing with this discrepancy for a while. Today, we'll hear from David, a shepherd boy turned king of Israel. In the book of Psalms, a book filled with poems and songs, David asks God to intervene when he doesn't have enough. As we read this, consider how David talks to God. We just read Psalm 4. David seems distressed, riddled with extreme anxiety, sorrow, and maybe even pain. Despite this anxiety, he trusts that God is listening and will address what deeply troubles him. David's relationship with God was built on trust, and he shows vulnerability when he's honest with God about his fears and his needs. David has seen God provide for him in creative ways many times before, and he wants that again. It may not have been exactly what he wanted, but God's care always came through. David modeled what it looks like to put any situation in God's hands and rest in the outcome, be okay with the outcome. When David needed God to provide for him, God did. The challenging situation may still persist, but God gave David what he needed to endure while in the middle of it. God always shows up when we need him. John is another person that asked God to provide and felt disappointed. He was one of the first followers of Jesus. When Jesus was put to death, he was the only one of the 12 disciples by Jesus' side. We can imagine how much John pleaded to God for a way out for his friend, leader, and mentor. All of that only to have his prayers seemingly ignored when Jesus died on the cross. We see that God provided in ways he didn't expect. God raised Jesus from the dead, a surprising way to answer John's heartfelt prayers. Resurrection was probably not what John prayed for, but it accomplished more for us and for humanity than John could ever have imagined. Watching God provide like this led to a few of John's greatest teachings. We just read 1 John 3:1. John calls us children of God. Families don't always feel loving or perfect because they are full of humans who love imperfectly. But God calls us children and shows us ideal love in every season. At one point, John thought all was lost. We often don't know how God will show up or when our practical needs will be met. But we have seen in Psalm 4 and in John's life that God is with us in our pain. Perfect love knows what we need and provides for us. When we don't feel like we have enough love, care, or safety, when we don't feel like we have enough, we can rest in knowing that we are God's children. And because of that, we have everything that we need, everything that we could ever imagine. No matter how unique or imperfect our family is, we have a God who calls us children and shows us perfect love in every season. We can trust that when there isn't enough, God provides.